Hi, I'm Aaron Ettinger. I'm an assistant professor at the University of Waterloo in the Department of Political Science. My research interests are American foreign policy since 9/11. And I'm interested in post-9/11 American foreign policy because it really reflects my own formative period as both a scholar and as a citizen in general. Right? 9/11 occurred in the first week of my last year of high school, and as I went through university and became a professor, the events out in the world unfolded in parallel with that. And now that I'm an emerging scholar, such as I am, according to this fine workshop, I have an opportunity to look back on the last 15 and soon to be 16 years of American foreign policy out in the world and try to make sense of what happened during this formative period of my development. My study is about continuity and change in American foreign policy since 2001. And I'm very interested in the way that the two presidents during this time period, George W. Bush and Barack Obama, have approached the problems of the post-9/11 era. Now, we hear a lot about how Obama was supposed to bring about all this change with his campaign of hope and change back in 2008, but I'm not so sure that that promise has been fulfilled. In fact, if you take a look at the record and through my research, I've discovered that there's considerable similarities between the Obama administration's approach and the George W. Bush administration's approach, which raises really difficult questions about how and why they are so similar. But at the same time, there is some dissimilarity in the way they approach things, which is really the subject of my analysis. What motivated me to study this is the end of Barack Obama's presidency. We're in the last few months. We're about a month away from the election at the time of this workshop, and we have an opportunity now to look back upon his 2 full terms, and at the same time George W. Bush's 2 full terms in the executive office, to analyze things from the perspective of 15 or 16 years out. And I think it's a very valuable opportunity to see what worked, what didn't, and why, and look forward into the future to see how perhaps some of these grievous errors could be stopped from happening again. I think the importance of these inquiries are threefold. First, it's really important to figure out what actually happened since 2001. Right? It's still very fresh in our memories, and many of the events are still unfolding. The final chapter has not yet been written, let alone the back cover of the book. So what I'm trying to accomplish is flesh out the story in a little bit more detail with the scope and perspective of 15 or 16 years. The second reason I think this is important are the significant policy implications. Now, in my paper, I talked about domestic law and international institutions, and I think it's very valuable to take a look at these developments to see how and why specific institutions failed along the way in the post-9/11 era. And at the same time, we can look forward into the future about the grander strategic implications for the United States and other countries like Canada. And I think the third reason why I think this is important is that there's an entire generation of students out there these days in high school and in undergraduate who really have no mature or systematic understanding of what happened since 2001. And I think part of my research is designed to help explain to this next generation, this post-9/11 generation, more or less what happened and why it is significant and why they should care about the details moving forward.